Before investing with RBC, I'll be honest, I was nervous. Where do I begin? Was it the right time? Do I even have enough to start investing? With RBC, I realized that, yeah, I did have enough. Because you can get started with just a few dollars a week. And the tools and expertise I get with RBC made it easy. Turns out, I couldn't afford not to invest. Learn more at rbc.com/start investing.
You know, when you're staying at an Airbnb, it might have crossed your mind. Could my place be an Airbnb? And if it could, what could it earn? You could be sitting on an Airbnb and not even know it. Like maybe you have a spare bedroom where friends or family crash every once in a while. But when it's sitting empty, you could Airbnb it to help pay for some bills or, I don't know, something more fun. Either way, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.ca/host.
This episode is brought to you by Choudhury. Most people only think about buying jewelry for special occasions, but Choudhury believes you should celebrate every day, not just the big moments. That you should buy and wear jewelry whenever you want. With responsibly sourced diamonds and 14-karat solid gold styles for every budget, Choudhury has something for everyone. They even drop new limited edition products every Monday, so it's easy to find something you'll love and wear forever. Shop now at Choudhury, MEJURI.com.
Age of Radio.
All right, little Nate, get to bed. It's, I'm gonna tell you a story. I'll tell you a story before you go to bed.
Okay, could you make it quick? I got school in the morning, so.
Well, your mom said you're really into these, bedtime fables.
Yeah, my mom says a lot of things.
Well, I'm gonna read you one. See, here we go. I know you're going in with at least a base knowledge, so I'm just gonna say that there's these creatures called narfs.
Wait, what? Narfs? No, you're making that up. That's from Pinky and the Brain.
Oh no, you're thinking of something else. And of course, there's a Madame Narf, and she's got red hair.
Wait, Madame Narf? Are you telling me a story about prostitutes and brothels?
I mean, I don't know how.
I'll call my mom.
Why do you know about that?
Look, I am in 5th grade. I know some stuff, okay?
Okay, well, anyway, the Narfs, of course, as you know, they're coming to Earth out of the blue world, out of the water.
I don't know what out of the blue world or the water. They're from the ocean, right?
The blue world, yes.
Yeah, okay, the ocean.
So she comes out of the blue world, and she has to find, of course, obviously, she has to find a healer, a guardian, a guild.
Of course, obviously, you're introducing characters that are supposed to be introduced organically in the story that you're about to tell me. Your storytelling is quite terrible.
Well, no, you know how there's like an interpreter who uses crossword puzzles, the usual.
Nope, not in the least.
And she has to hide from scrunts, which are like big dogs with grass on their backs.
Did you say scrunts?
Yeah, scrunts.
What kind of made up word is that?
It's a magical word for a magical day.
Just make with the story, Neil.
So there's a bunch of scrunts, and she has to find, a guardian to get her away from the scrunts. But the thing is, the scrunts, as you know, are really scared of the tartutic who live in the trees.
I don't know that.
And there's a giant eagle that has to save Madame Narf from the scrunts.
You're my mom's worst boyfriend, you know that?
All right, let's just watch the movie version.
Good, that'll put me out.
When I pick a movie, that's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me, what were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the podcast about bad to questionable movies. That's right. It is What Were They Thinking? I am your host, Brendan. Joining me is the story to my Cleveland heap. Yes, and to add fuel to the fire, that we are a couple, as wrestlers believe.
Last I introduced you as like my brother, and I'm okay. Thanks, appreciate it. Hi, everybody, it's Nathan.
What's wrong with the story to my Cleveland heap?
I don't know, man. There's all this this underlying romantic chemistry. It's irksome. If you want WWE Hall of Famers to stop thinking we're married, you got to stop doing that.
All right, fine. You're the Anna Rand to my Vic Rand.
Well, at least we're siblings then.
Nathan, we are talking about a magical film this week here on the podcast.
Fateful Findings. It's a magical day.
I would love to watch Fateful Findings five more times.
Talk about it again.
Mm-hmm. But no, we are going back to the Shyamalanian well. I believe this is our fourth Shyamalan. We've talked about The Last Airbender. We talked about The Happening. We talked about Old. Yeah, this is our fourth one.
Fourth one.
And certainly no other ones that we could ever discuss. This is the end of the list.
Old.
Cough, The Village, cough.
Signs.
But we are here to talk about Lady in the Water. But of course, as you know, if we're talking about an M. Night Shyamalan movie, we can't be without our M. Night Shyamalan reoccurring guest, ladies and gentlemen, Lindsay.
That was me drowning.
Oh.
Our Lady in the Water, Lindsay, is here. And she got it all over her Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt.
Oh, it's the Invader Zim, dude.
I don't know. I saw a bunch of I saw green and a bunch of, I thought they were swords.
Close enough.
Right, sure.
Nerds.
Give him a little prop.
Well, Lindsay, thank you for joining us for what I'm assuming is your favorite M. Night Shyamalan feature film.
Yeah.
It felt so genuine.
Oh boy.
How many times have you seen this movie?
It's only my second. It was my second. I saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And
you paid theater money for this?
No, I got free movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah. I remember when I first saw it, I thought it was okay, but it's even worse now.
I think I saw this in theaters too, because I definitely remember Paul Giamatti acting like a baby on a big screen, and I don't think he does it in any other movie. Pretty sure he doesn't do it in Shoot 'Em Up. I don't.
Sideways, he kind of does.
I'd say I don't recall it happening in Sideways.
One of them cried, I think.
But not with a milk mustache.
That's true.
Well, we'll get into all that. Lady in the Water. Plot. So the basic plot of this movie. Well, this is going to be real basic because we're going to get into details later, and my brain is going to explode. So basically, Paul Giamatti plays a character called Cleveland Heap, already going into the nominations for Your Name Is What Now award.
Yeah, for sure.
Cleveland Heap is the superintendent of a building in Philadelphia. What? This movie takes place in Philadelphia? M. Night Shyamalan, what's going on? And he notices that someone's been using the pool after hours when they shouldn't be. Well, he quickly finds out that, of course, it's a narf named Story, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. And we find out that she's come out of the blue world, aka the ocean, aka the pool, whatever, to basically right the wrongs in the world, make everything peaceful, get rid of greed. I guess that's sort of the idea. Many fairy tale, weird fables and crazy stilted dialogue and
clunky framing,
clunky everything, but beautiful cinematography ensues.
Wait.
I'm exhausted just having you explain it like that.
Bryce Dallas Howard. You mean that wasn't Jessica Chastain?
No, I'm very sorry.
Oh my god.
It wasn't Tilda Swanson in a ginger wig? Or Tilda Swinton, rather?
Nope, Tilda Swanson.
Who the fuck is Tilda Swanson?
I see it though.
Christy Swanson's younger sister, Tilda Swanson.
Christy Swanson, wasn't she Buffy?
Yeah, younger, less Republican sister.
Yeah, less MAGA.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, so Lady in the Water, guys. Let's get into it because we start this movie off with, I don't know, a 17-minute voiceover. Because when you got to start your movie, the best way to do it is just tell us stuff. And boy, do they. Man, the people of the water and man, they got along really well in the past. But then we found out man's true nature. Man was greedy. And the world of man and the world of the ocean were separated. The world of man became more violent. because there were no more water guides to listen to. Guys, I'm just guessing. Based on
So
what I heard
far,
in the movie.
you're kind of on point, but and we can't stress this enough. This isn't like acted out. It's all done
No.
through voiceover and chalk drawings.
Yeah, chalk drawings and just one person saying this. And the voice sounded familiar, but I can't point out who it was. But I think Lindsay is going to do our research right now. The people of the water people has sent young ones to land to convince man to, just be cool again. Just, don't be so violent and crazy. And there are also creatures called scrunts that eat the water creatures. So there is a risk of them going up there. This is what I wrote down at this point. This is the prologue. What the fuck am I watching?
The worst part about this whole thing is that he had several opportunities to introduce this story wholly within the plot of the movie, because the story gets told essentially again later on.
Right. And there are enough hints throughout the movie to build the story together. We don't need this fucking 29-minute exposition dump.
Yeah.
But that it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes, he turns out some good ones, but it's a bad M. Night Shyamalan movie. So we get a lot of exposition dump, a lot of dialogue from characters that makes no sense. And the movie even calls itself out on it. And I said, no, fuck you, movie. That's lamp shading. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Lindsay,
No
how
one important narrates.
no one important?
He's uncredited. It's
Who is it?
David Ogden Steers.
Oh, I know that guy. Not personally.
Oh, yeah, now that I look at his face.
Yeah, he's done some stuff. I knew he had a very commanding voice.
Yeah, I did a lot of Disney movies.
We start off with our main character, Cleveland Heap, played by the wonderful Paul Giamatti, forced to do this film at gunpoint, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Although the actors in this movie are much better than the ones in The Happening at pretending they're not doing it at gunpoint.
No, but some of them are a little wooden.
Again, I don't think Shyamalan is very good at directing actors, which it worked for The Sixth Sense because everybody has to be so sullen and downbeat, and like even Unbreakable, it works for that. But everything else, almost everything else, it's like, God damn, Shyamalan.
Yeah.
And you can't blame the actors because we've seen all of these actors be so much better in other things. It's just like the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
If that's the only Natalie Portman movie you watched, you'd be like, she's the worst actor ever.
Same with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he looked like he was half trying, but
Or Hayden Christensen.
yeah, he's a much better actor than those movies.
Exactly. So Cleveland Heap is the superintendent of this giant building in Philadelphia, and he's working on under the sink for one of the tenants, trying to get a large bug out from underneath. It's kind of a funny scene. He's just kind of like, we just see it like from the point of view from underneath the sink, and he's like, I'm gonna get it, and the family behind him is screaming. Kind of a stereotypical scene, but it's going to be a recurring theme, I think, in this movie, is that M. Night Shyamalan portrayal of other people not super great.
See, here's the thing with that. I mean, I can handle everybody's afraid of bugs cliche. In most movies, I can handle a nice, tasty cliche if they're done kind of well. This is just, this scene just felt like it's all we're doing. You get to see his face under the sink and he's squishing a bug, and there's nothing is really accomplished in this scene except for this cliched stereotype.
Yeah, and there are literally tens of scenes like this where nothing really happens to further the story. Like, it's just there to be there, and I guess that's his version of comic relief. So Cleveland welcomes a new tenant to the building, Mr. Farber, played by Bob Balaban. He'll become important later, but we learn he's a TV and film critic.
Sort of, maybe, kind of, I guess.
He's not the dude from Ratatouille?
No, Bob Balaban?
Yeah.
No, well, he was the warden in Shawshank Redemption, was he not?
I think
No.
so. No.
Yeah, never mind. He's in Lady in the Water. That's it.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Also, his name's Bob Balaban.
I mean, he's also he
You
also
hear
had a
that
pretty.
name, he's like, I may not know exactly what he's in, but I've seen him and stuff because I recognize that name. It's unmistakable.
He also had a reoccurring part on Seinfeld, I believe,
Okay.
for quite a while. But anyway, he's been in a lot of stuff. Good actor. He plays a TV and film critic in this movie. Keep that in mind when we talk about how this character is treated by M. Night Shyamalan. So we see that Cleveland is kind of questioning the tenants, like, do you know what's happening? Like, who's using the pool after 7:00? Does anyone know? He asks this character called named Young Soon Choi, who also is it's basically like when we talked about Dungeons and Dragons and how we said that Marlon Wayans is kind of playing like they kind of told him to play it like a minstrel act. I feel like that's the kind of thing we're getting here, is that it's like, okay, so you're Asian, so you got to be like Asian.
Yeah.
But he's going around. He's got a repair guy. That guy's flummoxed because he's like, I don't know why there's all this, like, there's this hair cropping up in the filter system. It can't just be someone swimming around. Like, what's going on? We meet some of the other tenants. We meet Reggie, played by Freddy Rodriguez.
Oh my God.
Such a good mortician.
Well, you may know him from Planet Terror as well.
Oh, that too, yes.
Yeah. His whole gimmick is he's working out on one side of his body. Has that been in something before, or is this the thing that I'm remembering it from? Because that seemed awfully familiar.
It was a gag on The Simpsons. There was an episode where Homer bought a barbell from a Rainier Wolf Castle, and he only bought the one, and he just kept doing the one arm, and he got like this huge honking big one arm and like regular Homer arm on the other, and Mo and him started hustling people in arm wrestling.
Okay. For some reason, I thought I saw it in a movie somewhere, but maybe it was just this, and I just blocked the rest of it out of my memory.
Probably.
So Cleveland goes to investigate some rumblings he hears in the pool one night, and he's like, get out of there. It's not safe.
I see you. I see you.
I see you stealing.
Yeah. He and then he just like slips into the pool and seemingly drowns. And I'm like, wow, dark way to start this movie. I guess Giamatti is written out. But no, he wakes up later in his bed looking face to face with Bryce Dallas Howard. And I said, not a bad way to wake up.
No.
Not a bad way.
She's naked.
I think she is, isn't she? Yeah, she is.
She's naked for most of the movie.
He's like super modest every time she's naked or half naked. He's like, I gotta look away. Put some pants on.
He's super modest, but he also like takes like 20 seconds before he realizes every time. Like he stares at it for a long time.
He's got to figure out how to say it without stuttering. Because you forgot to mention that he has like a pronounced stutter that goes throughout the movie.
I didn't notice it until he mentioned it.
You guys didn't notice that?
Well, no, wait, I noticed it. You didn't notice his stutter?
Well, no, I think I just zoned it out.
Oh my God.
It's like the most like like movie stutter ever.
I thought he was just doing an accent at first.
No, there's even at this part when he first kind of has his first prolonged encounter with her, he remarks to himself, I'm not stuttering right now.
Yeah, that's when I first realized he had a stutter. Then I heard it.
Nice.
Lindsay's just not ableist, like you and I. That's what it is.
Gotta be it.
So yeah, he wakes up and he sees Bryce Dallas Howard. We learn that her name is Story, and she's from the Blue World. And I wrote down Avatar.
Yeah, actually.
And then she asks Cleveland, she's like, do you feel an awakening? It's like a pins and needles feel inside. And I'm like, okay, why is he not freaking out?
Yes, naked chick on his couch.
Who's asking?
And he was drowning last he remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's asking if his arm was asleep and woke up.
Yeah, now she's asking about his feelings. And not only that, but she knows exactly how he's feeling because he confirms it. He's like, yes, I do feel that. And she's like, yeah, figured. Essentially. She says, you know, he says, I'm no longer stuttering. Wow, that's crazy. And he says, you know, listen, I'm not going to report you for using the pool, not losing the pool. That'd be weird. I'm not going to report you for
Solve
using
a
the
few
pool.
of their problems though.
Right, exactly. But I will allow you to wait around for a little bit because she said she's scared to leave. So he's like, fine. Jarring cut to her completely in his arms and asleep. I was like,
Naked.
whoa, yeah, yeah. I didn't remember if it happened or not, so I was like, are they gonna become something? Because there's quite a differential of age in this movie. Although it's weird because like
Right, because she's 1,000 years old because she's Narf.
but I thought the actors were quite a bit different. But I looked it up because they kept calling her like, oh, she's just a kid. She's just a kid.
I was kind of weirded out by that.
And I looked it up and she was like 27 when this movie was made. So she's not just a kid. I don't know. I guess she looks young. I don't
She's a
know.
millennial.
Jeez. It's a Narf. So she could be 27, but they live to be like 1,000 or 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
Neil wasn't super clear about it when he told me the story, so.
No.
Snarf.
It does feel like this could be Neil Breen with a budget. I'm just saying. There'd be a lot more fake backgrounds though.
No, yeah, but the dialogue and delivery would be about the same.
So Cleveland is like, all right, this weird naked chick who's talking about pins and needles, I gotta get her out of here. So he picks her up, starts going outside. He hears some snarling. And we don't really see much at this point, but we know that something is chasing them. And of course, Bryce Dallas Howard, I'm gonna say Story. I don't want to say her full name every time. Story is like, run! So they run back into the building. Yeah.
It's a dramatic run too.
Very dramatic. This movie gets started quickly and then just lingers for a long time.
Oh, so long.
Oh my God.
They call animal control, although nothing is found. So Story just kind of hangs out in Cleveland's apartment, gets in his shower. And then, holy shit, the movie just goes into full, like, it's just like him going around and asking about bedtime stories for most of this movie.
Yeah.
He goes back and talks to Young Soon, and he's like, what is a narf? Because his story described herself as a narf. And Young Soon is like, oh, you need to talk to my mother. She's the bedtime story expert. And this is where we get the, like, really, like, okay, M. Night Shyamalan, like, you don't like a certain type of people, it seems.
This is where we get the tea.
Hmm?
The gossip, the tea.
Oh, the tea. She's talking young talk.
Yeah.
This thing where he has to talk to Sun Young's grandma, that right there, that is the thing that you use to put this story to tell us about, Blue World and the Snarfs or the Snurfs or the
Smurfs,
Snorks or whatever, and
Snorks.
the Narfs and
Snorks.
Jesus. And you could tell us all that stuff through her. If you still want to use the chalk drawings, sure, whatever. Do it as like a fadeaway, and they could use that. But she's the one telling the story, and we don't tack on an extra what seemed like an hour to the movie just because that starting felt like at least an hour long.
It was just complete. That opening was completely unnecessary because the movie throughout tells us what we need to know. Exactly. Yeah. So the mother is like talking about how, a Narf is a sea nymph. And I'm like, yeah, cool. So you basically just said a word I don't really understand is another word I vaguely understand. Got it.
Narf is a sea slut. There we go.
Sea slut. Thank you, Lindsay.
No sea slut shaming.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Come on.
I'm canceled.
What happens in the ocean stays in the ocean, okay?
No, actually, it comes back on the land and causes some severe problems with the shoreline. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we learned that it's this Narf is a sea nymph who must be seen by the one human chosen for her and will awaken something in them. If successful, she will return on a giant eagle and be free. That old wives' tale.
Lord of the Rings.
M. Night Shyamalan wishes he was as accomplished as that.
Why?
So Cleveland walks back into his apartment, and Story is just standing there, completely naked. He stares at her for about 25 seconds before saying, "Yeah, could you put some clothes on?" Ah.
Well, that way he has time to register it all, but also seem, chivalrous, I guess.
Right. So Story tells him, I need to find this writer. And I'm like, oh shit. You just wait to see how this pays off. But she needs to find this writer, but she can't describe him. She doesn't know what he looks like. She doesn't know if it's a man or a woman. Doesn't know anything. So Cleveland is like, oh shit, Mr. Farber, who just moved in, is a TV and film critic. It must be him.
Oh yeah.
So he goes and questions him a little bit. He finds out that Mrs. Bell is a little bit of a writer, so he questions her. It's
but
like
she does say that they will have written something recently, because that's like a clue.
Yeah.
Because every person that he talks to is like, I haven't written anything in years, and Farber's like, I just got here, I haven't written anything at all because I haven't seen anything yet for the station that I'm going to be working for.
It was also between very long awkward pauses.
Yes.
I mean, that's his specialty. That's Shyamalan's specialty, is the very long, awkward pauses.
Yeah.
He goes around. I just like, it's like, it reminds me of like when you're watching a whodunit and a clue comes up and then suddenly every single person has something that could be that. It's like they made fun of it in The Simpsons in the Who Shot Mr. Burns episode when they had the first and last initials, and then suddenly we learned everybody's first name and everybody's last name that suddenly were like the right initials. But that's a comedy. This is like, everyone's suddenly a writer. So he goes and he goes to Mrs. Bell, who is sitting there with a bunch of butterflies all around her. That will become important later. He goes over to see Mr. Dury, played by the great Jeffrey Wright. It's nice to see him in this.
Yes.
He's there with his son. Yeah, Hunger Games. He's in the Bond movies too, right?
He is, yes.
Yeah, Felix Leiter he plays, I believe. But he's sitting there with his son. He's doing crossword puzzles, and he's like, "Oh, are you a writer?" And he's like, "Nope, just doing these crossword puzzles." Cool. Next scene. He goes to like, I guess, the stoner apartment where Jared Harris is in this movie all of a sudden. That was
he
cool.
barely talks though.
He doesn't have he doesn't have a name. He's just like apartment stoner or something like that.
Smoker.
Goatee Smoker is his character's name.
Yep.
You have Jared Harris. You fucking give him a role.
You give him at least a character, a
Jesus. I mean, we're talking about Mr. Deeds as Jared Harris here.
Right?
24-hour party, people. Come on. I think.
Poltergeist remake.
Oh, yeah. His greatest accomplishment. But they're like, no, we don't write, man. We just smoke weed. and I do.
And argue, yeah.
There is a funny moment there where Cleveland tells them, he suddenly gets a set of balls and says like, okay, listen, stop smoking in the apartment and stop throwing your clothes in the garbage disposal, before he walks away.
Just like, okay.
he gets a backbone all of a sudden.
And
because
then
they're not writers.
That's never seen really again either.
No.
That
They
was
end up
an
helping.
awkward moment.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Again, I said it seems like the actors, I know you said, Lindsay, that some of them are kind of wooden. I do think the acting overall is better in this than it is in The Happening, though.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I do think that Giamatti and Howard are the two best.
Oh yeah, they're trying.
But I will also nominate, we'll talk about her in a bit, but I also nominate, her name is Sarita Choudhury, and she plays like M. Night Shyamalan's sister in the movie.
Oh yes, I love her.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Oh, we're gonna meet her right now, actually, because doesn't he like pass them in the hallway after he leaves the stoner apartment?
Yeah, and she's going on about how pretty she is because she's like totally naked.
Wait, hold on.
No. This is where he doesn't have Story with him. He just runs into them as they're like getting ready to go do their laundry or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and then we see Vic Rand, and guess who it is, folks? It's M. Night Shyamalan.
I was hoping it was going to be more of like the size of the role he had in Signs.
Right?
Oh, this was a huge role he played.
This is the biggest role he's given himself, 100%. Like, he is almost the lead character.
At one point, I thought it was going to switch up and he was going to become the lead. I really did.
he basically says, yeah, I'm a writer, but I haven't gone back to it in a long time. And Cleveland,
I'll fix that light over your desk.
Yeah, Cleveland is like looking for excuses to do maintenance work so he
Yep.
can kind of snoop on these people. And he finds his unpublished book or unfinished book called The Cookbook. And he's like, well, it's a cookbook. It's obviously not. He's not the
Anarchist
writer.
cookbook.
What's that?
Anarchist cookbook.
Oh, shit. Do you think?
Probably. Sure, M.
Shyamalan?
Night, you wrote
No, that was long
Sure.
available on the internet before this movie was made.
I know, but he wishes he wrote it. I mean, the movie does look like it's dated.
I mean, he does say that the book he's working on will make a lot of people upset.
I
And there's
mean,
some, he talks
The
about
movie
politics
looks like
and
it
culture.
could have been from the 80s or early 90s.
Well, I've got a theory on that later, actually, about this being a period piece. So I'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, Vic just says, yeah, I'm writing a book about world leaders and cultural issues. And I said, holy shit, M. Night Shyamalan cast himself as the writer that will change the world. Literally.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't this movie.
But I think he was like
so self-indulgent.
because the way it's explained later is that he won't directly do it. Somebody who reads his book will be inspired by it, and they're the ones who are going to change the world. So it's not self-serving and
so it's
egotistical.
basically the Bible.
Not at all.
It's the new Bible.
Yeah.
It's the new Bible.
Misinterpreted.
It's a M. Night Shyamalan Christ. And nobody, like, basically his words.
Yeah, and he gets cursed.
He gets crucified.
He does become a martyr.
Yeah.
He does. We learned that later. So anyway, story. So
my
then we get some.
God.
Speaking of that dark subject matter, you just breached there for a moment. We do find out via story, looking through Cleveland's shit, is that Cleveland's entire family was murdered,
Yeah.
and he used to be a doctor, and now he's a superintendent in a building. And I was like,
Why?
that's harsh. That's a harsh backstory.
And I was just like, she was reading a sad handwritten novel.
Right. So Cleveland is like, yeah, fuck, that happened, I guess. Now you know, movie audience. So under some false pretenses, he brings over Vic so that Story can see him. And he's like, yeah, Vic, you're getting that pins and needles feeling, eh? Yeah. Oh, what's that like? And he's like, I think I'm just going to leave because this
Yeah.
is weird.
Yeah.
Story, of course, very intense, says she's so very happy to meet him. Imagine how creepy this is. Think about this for a second. You're a tenant in the building. The superintendent's like, oh man, you forgot to sign some papers. Come on over and I'll get you to sign them. There's a girl there who's almost naked, who's like, I'm so very happy to meet you. And then the
Super white.
superintendent looks at you and says, do you have that pins and needles feeling? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Oh my God.
People don't talk like this.
When you put it
No
that
one.
way, it's so creepy.
Right?
You mean the
Ugh.
way it's actually presented in the movie? Yeah. Exactly like
God.
that.
Whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, I would move out the next
Yeah.
day.
He goes back to his apartment, he's talking to his sister. I think the landlord just hit on me and wanted me to do a three-way with that weird redhead he was with.
Or he wanted to watch. I don't know.
Oh, he definitely wants to watch.
Also, I think it might be his daughter. Like, I'm not sure. So we meet another tenant after that named Mrs. Bubchek. She calls these are the real names, guys. She calls Cleveland over to fix her toilet, but her husband already called a plumber. Don't feel bad, Cleveland, okay? He doesn't want to hurt his feelings. End of scene. What was the point of that scene?
If I was gonna
The
be
point
like,
of
good.
that she keeps telling his secrets. He's in
He's
the
like-
bathroom. I think he had something last night and it didn't agree with him, but don't tell him I told you that.
The gossipy bitch.
And then he does something else too, because that's an important part of why he gets picked for the guild later.
Okay. Okay. I was
Or
like, because I was
the group of people that need to help Story get out to the pool so the giant eagle can come swoop her away. I was really hoping that a member of the Philadelphia Eagles was just going to show up in like a Pinto and be like, hey, I'm here to pick up the ginger.
Cool.
You want to hop in? We're going to go now.
If I knew a single member of them, I would make a
Ass.
joke here. But I would just sound like an idiot and be like, Aaron Rodgers?
Here's the Packers.
Speaking of MAGA. So story decrees I have to leave on this night to avoid the scrunts. So let's do this. But then she suddenly runs back in and she's got scratches and she's in full panic mode. A scrunt tries to break through the front door. So Cleveland, who by the way cannot see the scrunts, runs her up the stairs.
Can't see it?
He can't. I don't think at this point.
No,
Oh,
he
by the
can
way-
sense them because he sensed it. That's why they ended up calling Animal Control the first time, because
Yeah.
he didn't see it. He kind of sensed it.
But it totally ripped off Neverending Story with the wolf jumping through the stone.
Do
Same
you
with-
guys want to hear something crazy about this movie?
Yeah.
Just want to tell
There's
you right now.
something crazy about this movie?
Just
Please.
behind the scenes, this movie cost $70 million to make.
How?
Because I'll tell you how. The building and the pool were built for the movie. A real apartment building
Oh my
was built
God.
for because Shyamalan insisted that this be filmed in Philadelphia. So he picked out a spot, he bought it, he got them to construct the building and construct the pool, and then started shooting. A fully functional apartment building.
I hope people live in it now.
I don't know, but I'll tell you this: $70 million budget, it made 73. So not a huge success.
I mean, 3 million.
But think of like marketing and
Yeah.
it's definitely more than $70 million, I should say, production budget.
I mean, the trailer made the movie look decent.
It did. I was
mean,
convinced.
must-
Where the fuck are we here? So yeah, story. There was a scrunt. You know the deal with scrunts.
Oh well, it actually is a big deal because apparently they're not supposed to be able to attack her after this has all happened and the eagle is coming to swoop her down. These are real things that we're supposed to believe in this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
So this is a rogue scrunt.
A rogue scrunt.
Very rough.
Which, I mean, is an interesting name for a punk rock band, but not so much for a character that I'm supposed to be afraid of.
But also, how does he get people to believe him?
Yeah, I don't. He literally just tells people, and they're like, "Okay, checks
And
out."
he shows them naked white chick, and they're like, "Yeah, this is awesome."
I feel like they're just like, "This girl's pretty hot. Let's just see where this goes."
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like that.
But we get this is kind of a fun. This part I really like because again, this is Vic's sister, Sarita, played by Sarita Choudhury, because she tells Vic like, oh, Mr. Heap is up here and he's got a girl with him, and she's doing all these motions like, and I think she's like drinking, and then he says like, she's sick, but I mean, come on, she looks a little wasted, and she's so young, and she's wearing his T-shirt, and she's being really gossipy, and I really,
she's like, Mr. Heap's a player.
yeah.
And it's like, what is she trying to do? Is she trying to set her brother up with this girl?
Mhm.
Is she gossiping about the landlord? Or is she gossiping about the girl that's with or is it all of it?
I think she's gossiping about who the landlord has with him, and I was just happy to see some life in a performance in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just I was like,
honestly.
thank you. And I was trying to figure out what I knew her from, and if anyone's seen the show Homeland, she played Mira. She played
Yes.
Saul Berenson's wife for some time on that show.
Okay.
It was just nice to see her not so drab and sad as she is in that show. Cleveland finds out from Young Soon's mother that scrunts, when they scratch, it's actually poison, and he has to find an antidote or a cure, but it only exists where she lives. How in the world is he gonna find that, Nathan?
Oh,
Well, he's obviously going to have to go into the pool after hours and search for her portal through the pool underneath and find her stash
And
of
not
seaweed.
drown.
How is he breathing the
I
whole
held my
time?
breath
one
to
point-
see. I
yeah.
almost died.
At one point, he actually takes one of the upside down jars that she has in there and breathes the water out of it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, my question, like, if they had just said, okay, the rule is it's magic and that's why he can breathe, I would have been totally okay with that. But instead, they actually have him underneath for like, I don't know, 27 minutes before he grabs like a pen and takes off the tip and like puts it into a cup so he can like breathe in some air.
Sip the air out of the cup that's upside
Yeah,
down.
and I'm like, that makes it that makes it less believable. Like if you just told me the whole thing was magic, I would buy into it more.
Yeah, right?
Like Story put a spell on her, or she had a talisman that would help him breathe underwater or something.
Right. I would 100% believe that.
I guess if you're gonna go shitty fairy tale, go all the way shitty fairy tale.
You go balls deep or you don't go at all.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I also want to say, like, when he's asking Young Soon's mother, and it's kind of a scene where he asks for Young Soon at first, and the mother calls her, and she's like, "Okay, don't tell my mother I'm at a club," like she's on the phone, and he's getting her to translate his questions about the bedtime story so he can figure out a cure. Can you imagine being woken up at like 3 a.m. and this guy's like, "Hey, that bedtime story you know about, can you tell me more about that?"
That poor lady.
Like, she's like, I just want to get some fucking sleep.
Call the police.
Right. This crazy person is in front of my house.
But Shyamalan makes her out to seem like she's spiteful and hateful and not wanting to tell him this stuff, and like she's constantly fed up with shit. You know what? 3 a.m, I'd be kind of fed up with shit too.
Of course. I don't blame her at all. We also find out that Skrunts are afraid of Tartutic, who are these lawmakers who live in the trees and look like monkeys. They're so evil they killed their parents on the day they were born.
They shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Yeah. So Cleveland Heap is in the pool. He finds glasses and basically stuff that's been like stolen from the apartment, like little jewels. At one point, I swear to God, he found like a bullet strap, like a bullet vest.
Yeah.
What do you call that? With like the little, it's like a sash, but like bullets.
You mean like a bandolier?
Yeah, I swear to God, there was a bandolier.
Okay. I didn't see that.
I was like, well, who the fuck had that? Bob Balaban? Like,
and the stuff he took, it looks like just a big pile of poop to me.
It does. It doesn't look like
I actually noted it looked like weed.
Weed, like cannabis?
Yeah. Yeah, like weed you would, like cannabis you would get under the sea. Not, the stuff you would dry out and make dulse with.
Oh, yeah. Well, all I wrote was, here's your poop, I almost drowned.
And I mean, that could be related to sea weed as well, because I mean, if the straight is a browner color as opposed to green, yeah, they do look like little poop nuggets.
Yeah, they can.
Here's your poop.
Here's your poop nuggets. Smoke it up.
So after he finds this shit, literally, Young Soon comes over to deliver more exposition about like Madame Narf being, there's a Madame Narf and she's the key or something, and her return would be a great inspiration, and a Skrunt would be devastated. And I'm like, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
And that's the only reason why this Skrunt has gone rogue, because they apparently innately know that how important her accomplishing her mission is, as opposed to a regular run of the mill Narf.
Right. She's a Madame Narf.
Oh my God.
So we get Vic and his sister coming over at this point. She, by the way, Story is good now. He's cured her and everything with her own poop. Right. He rubbed her poop into her open wounds, and Vic comes up to Story and he's asking her. He's like, you know what? You can kind of see the future a little bit, right? And I'm like, I didn't know about this superpower, but okay.
Oh, doesn't she sort of do that back when she meets the Shyamalan Ding Dong the first time?
Oh, does she? Okay.
How she knows him from the future.
But I know she knows that he's a writer, but I just didn't know she was like a fucking fortune teller. Like I don't know. But he's like,
so she tells stories.
Yeah, he's like, well, tell me something. He's like, you said someone will get inspired by my writing and become this great orator and a leader of the country. And I'm like, I hope that's Obama and not Trump.
I was like, it's John Connor.
Like
John Connor.
Like he
John
could read.
Connor, and he's the mom.
But like, anyway, we find out later that he finds out that this person reads his book because M. Night, aka Vic, is actually going to get killed for his like crazy ideas. So he's going to be a martyr, essentially.
The Anarchist Cookbook.
For his brilliant writing.
His pretentious.
For very pretentious writing. See almost all his films.
But again, he's not directly saving the world, so it's not egotistical or self-serving.
Not at all.
No.
He's so modest, and he would never say anything like that about himself.
Humble to a fault, I think he once described himself.
He did describe himself as that, yes. Young Soon at this point is telling Cleveland, like, okay, listen, my mom is going to tell you all about the bedtime story, but here's what you got to do. You got to behave like an actual child
Oh my
for her
god,
to do
the
that.
scene made me so uncomfortable.
And also, she said a child, not a fucking simpleton.
He was an infant.
Young Soon says to him that you have to get her to see you less as a stranger and more as an innocent, like a child. But she says like a child. She doesn't mean a simpleton with a milk mustache rolling around on the lady's couch, fluffing the pillows and making himself a bed.
With a full man's mustache and beard.
So
right.
And like he gets it like
he could have just talked about how, the colors in her place are really pretty. And he likes cats and things that make him seem, nice and innocent and not like a weirdo who wakes you up at 3 a.m. asking for your daughter and then saying, could you please tell me more about this fairy tale at 3 a.m. from your homeland?
Tell me about the Narfs.
There you go, George.
I just think it's crazy. It's great. I wrote down, this is a case study on how much dignity can you sap from an actor in one scene. Paul Giamatti, a great actor. In the course of 3 minutes, I'm like, I don't know if he is anymore. I don't know. Came dangerously close to losing that appeal.
You said Shyamalan can't direct actors.
I know, right? He can direct actors to the grave. He kills them. And so at this point, Cleveland goes back. Story is in the shower, and for some reason, Story is not allowed to like reveal secrets about her world. So they have to come up with like this not sign language, but like like visual clues.
Yeah.
So he's using like Anna, like Vic's sister, as a conduit while he's like asking questions, and Story is like signing or whatever she's doing.
You know what it reminded me of? I know you haven't watched Trailer Park Boys, Brendan, but there's an episode where Julian is talking to Bubbles, and he wants him to tell him what Ricky's doing, but Bubbles doesn't want to squeal on Ricky. He goes, okay, so if I was to ask you a question and you blinked once for no and twice for yes, I mean that wouldn't be ratting, that wouldn't be squealing. Everybody's got to blink, right? Yeah, okay, cool. So then he asks, is Ricky growing weed in the trailer park? And he blinks really distinctly twice for yes. Mm-hmm. That's what this scene reminded me of.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the most childish way to get around this.
Right. It's so silly. And so we find out that there are humans with powers but they don't know about them. Heap finds out, and yes, this will be contested later, but he finds out that he's a guardian. But we need to find out who the interpreter is and who their guild should be, and a healer.
Okay, we get the twist where the initial picks don't work out being it, and then there are other people. He laid this stuff on so thick in the opening that I actually got, I think, 75% of them right. I mean, the actual ones that they ended up being.
Right. So would this be, because I always thought this movie was like one of the few Shyamalan movies without a twist. So is this the twist?
I think that's
that he
kind
just got
of the
them
twist.
Wrong?
Yeah, they ended up being someone else. Oh, he's calling back.
God
right
damn,
now.
M. Night.
Damn.
Is that the twist? Ask him.
Okay, was it? Look, we're talking about. Shut up. Okay, we're talking about the people who are like, the guardian and the healer and stuff like that. Is that the twist that they actually ended up being other people that they did name in this? Okay, all right, good. Also, that's a shitty twist. Bye.
Tell him.
So, yeah. But it wasn't really much of a twist for me because I was like, when they started naming the people they thought, I was like, no, that's not right.
No. No, it did no, because I knew I was like, it's not gonna be that simple. But yeah, he goes through and he's like, okay, so I gotta find out who all these people are supposed to be. I'm clearly the guardian, but I gotta find a healer. And they mentioned the healer's attracted to butterflies, and he's like, oh, Mrs. What the fuck's her name? Mrs. Bell.
Mrs. Bell, yeah.
Mrs. Bell had butterflies around her, so it must be her. And then so he's trying to like figure out who's who.
We were told earlier that he was literally a goddamn doctor before this, and we're
Yeah.
not supposed to think that he's the healer.
Right.
The first thing we're introduced to is a whole family, the entire movie, a whole family that are really close knit and tight together, and we're not supposed to think that they're the guild.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying? It's predictable?
Yes, I think it is rather predictable. I off predicted the symbolist, but I got it in the right family, so
So he needs to find out who all these people are. Cut to Mr. Farber, our beloved critic, who Cleveland knocks on his door and he's like, "Listen, can you tell me something? You know movies. Tell me about like how I figure out who these characters would be if this were a movie." And Mr. Farber is just like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll tell you." Not this is super weird. And he says, "Listen, there's no more originality left in the world. You could tell a movie's plot right when you start watching it." And I'm like, God damn, I wonder what M. Night Shyamalan thinks about movie critics.
yeah, really.
But he's like, and then eventually he thinks that the healer is Mrs. Bell, the interpreter is Mr. Dury, the guy with the crossword puzzles, who rattles off a bunch of nonsense bullshit with his crossword puzzles and comes up with this plan that they're gonna like all go outside, and because there's so many people, they're gonna deter the scrunt who's gonna smell all of them, and he won't pursue story. He is a guardian, and because he's a guardian, he can actually watch the eagle show up and fly her away. Guys, this is really in the movie.
It's like, have you ever seen like a super right wing evangelist who thinks that they're a prophet and just starts rattling off these weird symbols that must mean this and that must mean this? It's like, no, that doesn't mean any of that stuff at all. You are grasping at straws.
What do you mean when that crazy religious guy recently said the eagles flew over the tent when we blessed Donald Trump Jr.?
Yeah, and things like I read in the book of Revelations, it said, "Behold, Barack Obomo," talking about the revelations. So it's clearly a Barack Obama bringing about the, like, shut the fuck up.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. You sent the Eagles after us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were a Super Bowl team a couple of years ago, so that's high quality.
And you know, they had some good songs.
Well, he didn't.
Oh, hey, I like the Eagles.
Hotel California.
Yeah, take it to the limit one more time, Nathan.
Yeah, sure.
You can't tell me you don't get up and cheer at the end of the Warriors, and if you do, you're a fucking liar.
After the boys of summer are gone,
Anyway, this movie's fucking stupid. Back to it.
Oh,
Story. Would you say, Lindsay? No, it's not. It's my favorite movie ever.
It's
So good. Story at this point tells Cleveland, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go outside. You can use a mirror to spot the scrunts. So you go outside with a mirror and walk backwards until you're facing the scrunt. You got to recite these ancient words, and you got to look the scrunt right in the eyes, because you're the guardian, and you looking it right in the eyes will cause it to back down. You can control it. But guys, it does not go well.
You know what he does? He does Ash in Army of Darkness.
Yeah, Klaatu Barada necktie.
He doesn't quite say it right, does he?
No. Nickel, nectarine. It's definitely an N-word.
I can't say it though. Should I say it, guys? Is it okay if I say it?
Sure.
But he basically, it doesn't go well. The scrunt starts chasing him, and of course Story, and they're communicating on walkie-talkies, which I think is hilarious. That like, oh, Story is from this blue world, but she knows how to use a walkie-talkie.
Absolutely, of course.
But she's like, run! So he like runs away. Cut to Mr. Farber returning from a movie that he was watching to critique, and he sees Heap just in a pile, laying on the ground.
In a heap. In a heap.
Cleveland in a heap. And of course, Mr. Farber did not like his movie. Characters were speaking their thoughts out loud Huh? What's that like?
Jeez. They're talking.
Well, I just mean I think that's happening in this movie though.
Oh
Like
yeah.
character, like he's talking about exposition and shit, and I'm like, you can't do that if you're doing that.
No.
Maybe he's in some obtuse way. He's trying to draw attention to the fact that it happens in every movie, and actually, people talk to themselves all the time.
But I mean, we've talked about so many movies on this show where people have conversations with themselves out loud, and at some point it's like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, this is literally just to tell us what they're thinking, and it's lazy, and this character is saying that it's lazy, but then in this movie they do that. So it's like, are they trying to lampshade it by being like, this critic is an asshole?
Yeah.
And so we're doing that in this movie because he says it's shitty, so that makes it not shitty. I don't know. It's not good, guys.
Not at all.
And he says, like, oh, there was a romantic couple and they declared their love in the rain. Who declares their love in the rain?
Why do they do that? Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Oh.
And Heap at one point, this is clearly
So
M.
is this
Night
actually
Shyamalan's-
is this Shyamalan taking shots at critics or taking shots at the Notebook?
Oh no, this is him
Whoa.
attacking critics because Cleveland actually says, well, maybe it's a metaphor for like the rekindling or the rebirth of their love, and he says, no, that's stupid. It sucked.
That is stupid.
It
Honestly.
sucked.
But I think Shyamalan is definitely the Cleveland Heap voice of that conversation. So anyway, we didn't talk about this character, but there's another character named Mr. Leeds, played by Bill Irwin, who's in this movie. And
He's a psychopath.
he's a psychopath.
Like he
Never leaves his apartment, and he only watches like war
definitely
documentaries.
gearing up to be a serial killer, and they totally missed it.
Wait, so are you saying, Nathan, this is Jimmy all grown up from The Wizard?
Well,
It
if
is.
it's not Jimmy, it's one of the kids who was in the institution.
I would have loved to see a scene with Mr. Leeds just like rocking a Super Mario 3.
Love
California.
We talked about the
California.
We talked about The
It
Wizard
would've
last week.
made
Lindsay,
way
I'm
more
sorry.
sense if this movie was set in California.
I don't know if he's ever had unless it's on a different planet. I don't know if he's ever directed a movie not taking place in Pennsylvania.
I think Last Airbender was set in Pennsylvania in some way, shape, or form.
No, I mean,
Definitely.
that's the twist at the end.
Yeah, they were in PA the whole time.
They pan over to a sign, and it's just like a highway sign. It says Philadelphia, next exit. Okay, so yeah, Mr. Farber is talking shit about this movie that sounds like it might be The Notebook. This is the scene I was talking about earlier. I guess this happens here where Vic, aka M. Night Shyamalan, asks if he's gonna be killed for this person to this inspiring country leader to read his words and change the world. And she says, well, yeah, because he says, why isn't he just meeting me? I don't understand why he needs to know this from the book. And I'm like, not everyone meets famous authors, like,
Right?
Yeah, exactly, Lindsay. She makes the throat slitting motion. He gets his throat slit. I'm assuming by garrote wire.
Oh, just a rusty pop can. You don't know that. I mean, if it's a super left-leaning book, it could have just been some cracked out hillbilly with a broken meth pipe.
Could have been. So at one point, Vic says, listen, like, I'm just asking, like, I don't take myself seriously. And I was like, fuck you, you fucking liar.
Right.
You fucking, that is the least believable part of this entire movie. So so at this point they're throwing their party because this is their big plan, right? This is their plan to get Story back to her world because they've got people singing, they've got like the guild, they've got the healer, the butcher, the candlestick maker, all that stuff.
I just don't
And-
understand why they don't form a protective circle around her and just wait.
I don't
Everybody,
even know.
all they had to do, hold hands, stand in a circle, facing the field, away from the pool. Solid. Problem solved.
Why did they have music? I didn't get that part at all. I didn't get any of this.
The idea was the only people who were able to actually see the eagle swoop in and take Story away are the folks who have powers but don't know about them. So like the guild and the guardian and the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Only they're allowed to see this, right? So
Right.
they engineered this party that
Right.
to have like the stoner guys who they think are the guild at this point, that they're buddies who like they're gonna throw a party and they're gonna play live music inside that tiny apartment, and everybody's gonna crush into that tiny apartment so they can see this kind of all right but sort of shitty local band play, while all the other people stay outside to make sure that story gets swooped up by Rob Saborski, one of the Eagles.
No, like you didn't go for Glenn Fry. Commendable.
I mean, on a good Eagle.
So it's funny because they
Rob Saborski.
they place that they kind of make this party under the guise of like a welcoming party for Mr. Farber, and he shows up, and Bob Balaban shows up, and he's like, "Oh, it's just so wonderful that you threw I mean, I expected a welcome, but I didn't expect this big party." And there's kind of a funny moment where two people out of the guild, like the stoners, are like, and he's like, "I'm from 13B," and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is for you, yeah, dude, yeah."
Because
welcome."
the party flyer didn't even say his name. It said
No.
to welcome the new guy.
The new guy from 13B.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of hanging out. Heap and Story are just talking more riddles, and she's talking about, "I don't have the courage to be the Madame Narf," and I'm like, "I don't care." But then stuff starts going wrong. Anna is holding her little mirror so she can see the scrunt, but her mirror breaks because someone bumps into her. The music doesn't start when it's supposed to, and a scrunt is dragging Story away. Surely she is 100% dead. Lindsay is losing her shit because we are talking nonsense.
This part is so funny.
What?
This part is so funny.
It's so funny.
It's just
Because it's fucking clown shoes.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
So they take her in. They're like, "Oh shit, she's got a bunch of scratches now." Jeffrey Wright, aka Mr. Dury, is trying to use his crosswords again, and he's like, "Listen, I don't think I'm the interpreter, guys, because all I do are crosswords. So you know what? I think we all made a mistake with the roles we were assigned."
She's dead.
Are you laughing about a death? Okay, just checking.
I'm good. I'm good.
Cut to the stupidest part in the entire movie, and that's saying something, is that Mr. Farber is a little drunk, a little tipsy. He's going back to the apartment building. A scrunt has snuck back into the apartment building, by the way. And by the way, he can see it, which I thought they established earlier that you can't see it. But anyway.
Well, he's out of the grass.
Right.
So
Yeah.
We should point out this is the only character that dies. I think that's making a statement here, Mr. Shaw.
while babbling critic review, basically.
This is what he fucking says. The scrunt is coming towards him, and not screaming for his life because he sees this terrifying looking creature.
Grass dog.
What?
Grass dog.
Grass dog?
Grass dog. It's a grass dog.
Yeah. But he sees this terrifying creature, and his first thought is not like, "Oh shit, I gotta get away." He treats it like he's in a movie because he says, and I wrote down the quote, guys, so bear with me here.
Okay.
"This is like a moment from a horror movie where a beast will attempt to kill an unlikable side character. But in stories where there have been no prior cursing, nudity, or death, such as a family film, the unlikable character will narrowly escape this encounter, having learned valuable lessons. I will turn to run, you will leap for me, I will shut the door, and you will land a fraction of a second too late." What? No, he's dead.
Nom.
But if this was a PG-13 movie,
It's so weird, that scene. Is that M. Night saying, critics think I'm predictable, but
No,
hey, guess what? I'm not.
That's him saying I want them all to die.
He doesn't
Yeah.
like critics.
yeah, that's. I think it's more of that because, even if he's trying to say that they're saying that I'm always predictable, if this is a PG-13 movie and he dies, that's predictable. So he's basically saying that he's predictable while someone's kind of castigating for being predictable.
So self-indulgent.
Oh, predictable.
So anyway, Mr. Farber, again, the only character that dies in this movie. He's dead. The only, aside from, well, we'll find out later. So they need to, you know what, they're like, we need to figure this out. We were wrong about all the roles. We need to find someone who sees a deeper meaning in the ordinary. And Mr. Dury is like, wait a second, I have a pretty cool son that we can go talk to. And he's sitting there, the young child who's like, I don't know, what, 8, 9?
Yeah.
He's sitting there with a bunch of cereal boxes in front of him.
He keeps like reading stuff off the cereal boxes.
Yeah.
In the other scenes that he's in, talking to his dad while his dad does the crossword puzzles.
Right. So he's
Like,
sitting
this
there
is
in
creepy.
front of the cereal boxes and he's like, the guild will be 7 sisters and you need 2 additional helpers. You need a man who has no secrets and a man whose opinion is highly respected. And those 2 people need to witness everything. So there's a recruitment montage. So Cleveland is going around to find these people. Like you said, these 7 sisters are like the 5 sisters that are living together, right?
The daughters, yeah.
Yes.
The daughters.
Your
The
daughter.
ones who were afraid of the bug at the first of the movie.
Right. And he adds Young Soon to that and M. Night's sister. And they are
Right.
basically the 7 sisters. And the helpers he gets Bill Irwin, Mr. Leeds, and help me out.
Oh, the dude on the toilet
Oh yeah, the guy that he
who has no secrets.
has no secrets, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bunion on his ass.
Right, but don't tell him I told you that.
No.
Right. And now he has no secrets. So he's got all these people now. We get a quick shot of a scrunt in a washing machine, and I said, "Oh shit, he's gonna ruin that." And then as if on cue, the rain starts, the music starts jamming, Heap starts gathering his crew, and then the funniest scene of the whole movie, Jeffrey Wright's son comes in and he's like, "Oh, my bad, guys, I fucked up." When I interpreted everything, I fucked up. I meant he will lead a ceremony of 7 sisters. So then we find out, oh shit, M. Night Shyamalan twist. We thought that Mrs. Bell was the healer because there were butterflies around her, but the butterflies came from Cleveland, so Cleveland is the fucking healer.
But
You know, the
also
guy who was actually a
fucking
medical doctor?
Yeah.
What a twist! So, again, just to reiterate, everyone just accepts everything that's going on. Cleveland puts his hands on Bryce Dallas Howard's legs where the wounds are from earlier. Everyone in the room like touches his shoulder, and I'm like, am I watching a fucking Scientology video or something? Like this is some
know what?
cult shit.
He's
You know what's
going clear.
happening?
What you
It's Shutter Island.
shut out? Yeah, how dare you?
He's going through a nervous breakdown here. None of this is happening.
How
It's
dare
a-
you compare
It's
this
a
movie
real
to Shutter
Jacob's
Island?
Ladder type situation.
How dare you compare this movie to Jacob's Ladder?
Oh,
So boom goes the dynamite. Story's healed. And we've got one more confrontation with the Scrunt because he's got to get her back to her, to her blue world, aka the ocean. And we find out that
AKA the pool filter.
right. But the Scrunt stops dead in his tracks, and we're like, wait a second. So the Guardian must be looking him in the eyes, but we know
Oh
it's
my
not Giamatti.
Christ.
Oh, no. It's fucking Reggie with the one buff arm.
one arm Reggie.
And
One arm-
I will.
One arm Reggie.
I think I might change my idea of what the real twist in this movie is.
Oh, that the Reggie's the Guardian?
That one-armed Reggie is the Guardian.
Now-
He's just standing there with this huge jacked arm and this super normal Homer arm on the other side.
Oh, thank you for clarifying, because you guys kept calling him one arm Reggie, and I just want to make sure people know he has 2 arms.
Two.
One of them is much more buff than the other. But yeah, Reggie is the Guardian, and he just keep staring at the Scrunt. And Reggie's like, okay, cool, I'm in.
How much you bench, bro? Rather, how much you curl, because he wouldn't be benching. He's only training the one arm. For science.
You lift. So he's
With only
staring
one
at
arm?
he's staring at the Scrunt. The Scrunt is backing up, and then guys, the moment we've all been waiting for, to meet the
credits.
Tartutic.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the Tartutic. They come out of the trees. They don't look like monkeys, so I don't know where that description came from. And they start beating the fuck out of the Scrunt. And Reggie is like, what the shit is going on?
As you would.
Right! The eagle swoops down, rescues Story. Heap thanks her for saving his life. story takes off on the eagle. End of movie.
There's also Lord of the Rings movies playing music.
What?
The music sounded like Lord
A
of the Rings.
Lord of the
ripoff.
Rings sounding music at the end.
Yeah.
Like that swelling crescendo of orchestra.
You know, it's crazy. I thought about it. I thought it was going to take me a while to get through this plot, but it's so convoluted and so crazy that I just have to tell you what happened, and you have to believe me.
They always make up a whole lot of jokes because it's pretty ridiculous all on its own. My final note on this was this movie fucking stupid.
Yeah, I wrote I hate this movie and underlined it 5 times.
Any other thoughts before we go into our final kind of roundup about this movie?
None whatsoever.
No, I can't.
I can't. All right. Well, Lindsay, as our guest, I will go to you first. We have, of course, our classic rating system. Is this movie worth a watch? A drunk watch with friends? Would you attempt head trauma to forget it or avoid like the plague?
I would attempt head trauma.
Okay. So you bash your head on the side of the table and hope you forget all about the scrunts?
Yes.
Okay. Nathan, what about you?
I would actually go full on avoid like the plague. This is the first time I've watched this movie and managed to stay awake for the whole thing. I have attempted to watch this movie 3 other times.
Holy shit.
This movie is a celluloid sedative. I do not recommend this in any way, shape, or form.
You know what frustrates me the most about this movie is that this movie could work. Like this story, not the character. The story of this movie could totally work if it was done better.
Yes.
Like it's a cool premise, right? Without getting into all the babble, the techno babble and the bullshit.
You can get into that babble, but frame it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like never ending story.
And as for me, folks, I'm gonna agree with you, Nathan. I'm gonna go full tilt and say avoid like the plague. This is probably my least favorite Shyamalan I've watched like ever. There's one we haven't talked about that might be worse, but this is, at least of the ones we've talked about, this is my least favorite Shyamalan.
It's probably the worst one I've seen.
Okay. Have you seen After Earth?
No.
Okay, that might change. We'll see.
Okay.
See what happens. But this was garbage. It's so, and it just sucks because like we talked about the cast in this movie. That's a really good cast. And the idea of the story is interesting, but the execution is just awful.
Failed at every corner.
Yeah, just the worst. So on that note, we will take a brief break and listen to some ads, and we will be right back.
What were they thinking?
NPR bot, initialize. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Nathan, it's time for the low haiku. Why don't you tell the folks what the low haiku is all about?
Well, the low haiku is 17 perfect syllables, 575, to describe the movie that we've talked about ad length and ad nauseum.
Yes, indeed. So, as per tradition, as we have a guest in-house, Lindsay, would you like to start with your low haiku?
Sure. Okay. What the heck was that? The lady in the water was not in water.
Here we go. Here, unless you count the shower, we actually don't see her in any water at all in this movie. That's a good point. Good point.
Nathan, what say you, friend?
Okay, well, I will give it my best. Here goes. Lady in the pool. Grass dogs in the pale moonlight. Sounds cool. It is not. Thank you.
All right, I will finish with my haiku here. I wonder something. What could M. Night be saying with that critic guy?
Very good. Very good. Very good.
Excellent.
The rhetorical question.
Very much so.
Sorry.
Very much so.
But NPR bot, if you could, please. Oh God. Oh, we're out.
So much easier.
So much
easier.
Helps me with my anxiety.
Oh, I forgot to do this. At the end of this.
Oh, get rid of those notes. Yeah, dog.
You never have to talk about this movie ever again.
All right. Well, we talked about this movie. We waxed poetic. We praised it to the high heavens. But
you know,
Nathan or hell, whatever the opposite. I always confuse them. But Nathan,
dark
what do we
depths of hell. Yes.
what do we always say on this show?
Well, we do have a tendency to say,
Don't take a word for it.
That's right. That's what we say. We say, don't take our word for it. Nathan, I know the critics didn't like this. I'm not going to beat around the bush. So how many of the critics thought this was pretty good?
25% out of a little over 200 reviews.
Okay, so it's pretty concrete then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, certainly the audience must have been on the same level.
They were about times 2 levels up at 49%. However, out of over 250,000 ratings.
It kind of alarms me that it's almost 50-50.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? If you did like this, and
I
it
didn't.
sounds like we all hated it,
Yes.
you might also like The Guardian, I believe, starring Kevin Costner and
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher.
It's not great.
Or Flight Plan with Jodie Foster. Or, you know, that Nicolas Cage, Michael Pena movie, World Trade Center.
Like the shitty United 93, yeah.
Yeah. Or Ocean's 12. I kind of like Ocean's 12. And
I mean, it's
finally,
still Ocean's 11.
I don't understand how this got lumped in with, if you liked Lady in the Water, you might also like Coach Carter.
They're all inspirational sports movies, Nathan. I don't understand Rotten Tomatoes metric for this ever.
Right?
No.
There's no mysticism or ancient world fairy tale stuff attached to any of these movies.
Was Sam Jackson a wizard in that movie?
No, what?
But has he played a wizard in a movie? He kind of did in Star Wars. Vis-a-vis,
if you count it as a Jedi, yeah.
Jedis are wizards.
Yeah.
Jedis are, yeah, Force wizards.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like everybody really likes this movie. I'll start off with we're going into the critics' reviews. I'll start off with Roger Ebert, my boy. He says, perhaps it's improvised and protracted, nonsensically and unnecessarily, just for the sake of stringing us along and maybe putting us to sleep. 1.5 out of 4.
That is
See?
insult.
Maybe putting us to sleep. Well, I'm gonna
Bedtime
go
story. That's the purpose. That's what M. Night was going for, guys.
Yes,
He
okay.
accomplished it.
Fair. I'm gonna go with our late great friend of the podcast that we never met, Ken Hankey, from the Mountain Express at Asheville, North Carolina. And I this is one of the few times I am on the opposite page of old Ken.
Uh-oh.
He writes, I'm inclined to think that we're seeing the expression of an artist who knows he has something to say, but hasn't been able to quite come to terms with what that something is. But Ken gave it a 4 out of 5.
Ken, R.I.P.D., but like, come on.
All right. Okay, so this is from Jason Anderson, CBC News, Canada.
Mr. Anderson.
Hey, and he says, Lady in the Water exposes Hollywood's master of suspense. I don't know if I would call him that. But anyways.
They were at the time.
That's true. Exposes Hollywood's master of suspense as a wet noodle. And they couldn't even give a score.
And that's how much they cared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jonathan Weber of Out Magazine says, nothing works in this film. It's boring and incomprehensible, laughable when it should be inspiring.
Okay. Well, that whole thing where Giamatti has that speech about his family and missing them and stuff was probably one of the only high points in the entire movie. that redemptive part of that character, but I mean, the story surrounding it was so clunky. Anyhow,
Yep.
Donald Monroe from the Fresno Bee wrote a screenplay so eye-rollingly dippy that it plays out like something a bunch of second graders cooked up on a rainy day playing Fort in the living room. He gave it a D.
Steve Schneider, Orlando Weekly. Never has the evidence been so clear that a once promising director has gone completely insane. Yet seldom has said proof been so all fire dull. Punctuation. 1 out of 5. Wow. I hope he wasn't
All right.
paid for that.
Well, I'm going to end the critics ones on a positive note. Rob Gonzalez of efilmcritic.com says, ignore the critics on this movie. Yeah, I am one, which means I'm telling you to ignore me too. 4 out of 5.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Who can I finish this over with? I gotta counter your I guess kind of positivity with something else. All right. Scott Foundus of the LA Weekly wrote, Lady in the Water is unmistakably a setback, as well as a warning to potential directors. You are, it seems, either with M. Night Shyamalan or against him, and this time I must take up residence in the latter camp. That was a rotten review.
A return to storytelling in the first order. Lady in the Water is highly recommended. 3 out of 4. What? Michael A. Smith? What?
Wow.
You said it was highly recommended?
Mm-hmm.
And you gave it a 3.
Wow,
Yeah.
Mike. I just found a note on this movie, and I just want to relay this to you guys. So there was a book called How M. Night Shyamalan Risked His Career on a Fairy Tale. And so he was partnered with Disney for a while prior to this movie.
Okay.
One of the reasons why Shyamalan decided to part with Disney was because Disney's president of development, Nina Jacobson, took her son to a party instead of staying home to read the script for Lady in the Water. Shyamalan had it personally couriered to her, and to add insult to injury, she did not like it anyway. Shyamalan went off in a huff, and the, quote, creative differences he purportedly had with Disney was that he simply felt that there was nothing creative about Disney anymore. He took the script to Warner Brothers instead, but without the usual marketing campaign that Disney promoted his other films with, and thus Lady in the Water became a box office flop. Because she took her son to a fucking children's party.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, not egotistical or self-important at all.
Not at all. And it's crazy if someone would even think that. Anyway, let's get into the real meat and potatoes. The audience
Penis and
reviews,
testicles, yep.
Penis and testicles. The the butthole of the internet.
The comments section.
Right. So my first audience review is from Alicia M. And Alicia M goes full hog 5 stars. This movie is extremely underrated. It is absolutely enthralling and enchanting, but beyond that, it is a metaphor for our world. We have lost something very precious and magic in our hearts, and the lady represents that hidden and latent knowledge that we have lost. The people in the apartment represent the humans in the world that are hungry for enlightenment. I adore this movie.
Well, my first one comes from Jason S., and I can only assume that's Jason Sudeikis.
Oh, cool.
And he writes, if you combine the silly premise, the film is engrossing and delivers. 3.5 out of stars.
Sudeikis.
All right. I have one from Mike J. I really like this one.
Okay.
King, Lord, Lord, King, Lord, Evil, King, Lord, King. 4.5 stars.
What?
How is that?
Okay.
Liked it.
Yeah, wow. Glowing review and super weird. This one is from an anonymous reviewer who gives it
He was
4
the
stars.
anonymous general manager.
Anonymous general manager, he's just a laptop. He gives it 4 out of stars and says, I love this movie, mainly for the atmospheric use of rain. End of review.
Okay.
I don't know that they use rain that often, do they?
No,
Just
rain
at the end of it,
ruined the party.
rain ruins the party. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the only scene, whatever.
Okay. Well, my next one comes from Matt B, and I can only assume that's NXT trainer Matt Bloom. And he writes,
And he says, I'm not a fan of Bill D. He almost ruined my career.
right, utterly pretentious from start to finish. Who did M. Night Shyamalan make this movie for? The audience or his kids? It's confusing and lackluster. Paul Giamatti's likable performance and some nice cinematography can't save this movie. 1.5 out of stars.
By the way, I also just
From
found
Lord
out
Tensai.
on the same day this movie was released, they did release a book, like a children's book about Lady in the Water.
Yeah, don't like that.
Okay.
It probably went a little something like our cold open.
Yeah.
This one is by Sanford C.
Sanford and Son.
Yeah. He said Stinker by N. Shyamala. Can't even
That's his name.
write his name right. Yep. He hasn't made a good movie since Sixth Sense. Such a campy waste of time. 1.5 stars.
I would contend that since Sixth Sense, but sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think this one's in jest, but it made me laugh anyway. This is from Sassy. So I'm assuming Sassy.
Sassy.
1 out of stars. Best movie where 3 Groots tag team wrestle a grass dog while a giant eagle carries off a water nymph from an apartment complex that I've ever seen.
Okay.
A narrow category, but a win nonetheless.
very niche market for that one. My next one is from Matthew L, and I can only assume that's Matthew Lillard. And he writes, Lady in the Water has flawed directing and a weird story, but it does have some well-done scenes, and it's pretty entertaining. 3 out of stars.
I have one from Persephone S. IDK, why this has a low percent. It's a really good movie and different. These days, all you get are fucking remakes. 5 stars.
Because it wasn't a remake, it automatically gets 5 stars.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right, last review from me from the audience is from Wee M.
Wee Man from
Wee Man.
Jackass?
Wee Man from Jackass. 5 out of stars. Great movie. It was actually a bedtime story for kids. Rotten Tomatoes sucks donkey dick.
Sounds like Wee Man. Okay, well, this my last one, and it comes from Robert H, and I can only assume that is from constant contributor for Listener's Choice Month, Robert Hooper, and friend of the show, also local referee for professional wrestling. He writes, well, it does have its magical fairy tale quality that is endearing. It's mostly just a pretentious, silly piece of nonsense. It has way too much mythology to be comprehensible, and M. Night Shyamalan casting himself as a writer just hits the nail a little too hard on the head. 2.5 out of stars. Even on Rotten Tomatoes, he can't count to 3.
Take that, Hooper.
Take that, Hooper.
Stop sweeping the mat.
Also, his foot was on the rope.
Goddamn right. You know what we're talking about, Lindsay. You know all the wrestling.
Yes. I know the 80s wrestling.
Which Hooper probably did. He's old.
Yeah.
So send us home with that last, I'm assuming, glowing review from an audience member.
All right. Well, this person couldn't even be bothered to put a name.
Coward.
So they wrote, a confusing and boring, complete mess of a fairy tale. Paul Giamatti spends the whole movie looking as confused as everyone else watching it. I mean, that's accurate. 1 star.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti was like, wait, didn't you do The Sixth Sense? I thought this was supposed to be good.
He's like watching his career go down the toilet as he acts through the whole movie.
Again, that milk mustache scene is the closest I've ever gotten to being like, was I wrong? Is this a bad actor? That's the strength of M. Night Shyamalan's direction of actors.
With George Lucas.
Well, let's not go crazy here.
Stand.
But there we go. We've done it. We've gotten the we've heard from the critics, we've heard from the audience, but now, the three of us, we like good stuff too. So I'm gonna
Occasionally.
ask you, what's that?
Occasionally.
Occasionally, we like to kind of cleanse the palate with a good movie or a good show or something like that. So I'm gonna ask the question. Well, America's asking the question. Canada's asking the question. What you watching, bud? So Lindsay, I'll start with you. What you watching, bud?
What you watching, bud? I don't know what you watching, bud. I'll tell you so. Do.
Actually, Arcane. It's not very new, but it's from Netflix, and it has no business being a League of Legends cartoon because it's really good.
What is it called? Arcane?
Arcane, yeah.
Okay.
It's on the Flicks of Net.
You should watch it.
On the Flixnet. All right.
Okay.
Arcane. And what about is it a TV show?
It's just a animated short.
Okay.
It's like a TV show, yeah, but
okay.
Season.
What about you, Nathan? What you watching, bud?
Let me see the plethora of things that I have been watching. Actually, let me take a quick look at my viewing history on one of my devices.
Go through some of your recent pornographies that you've watched.
This the one about banana shotting?
Don't lie to me. You're not recommending that.
Never, ever, ever. Okay. Well, I do like to watch the interesting stuff on Tubi.
Love Tubi.
Yeah, love Tubi. So yeah, I like the Tubies as well because they've got some really great and quote unquote great stuff too. But I actually watched some legitimately great stuff. A Korean zombie pet that's been out for a bit, and I was kind of sleeping on it. Train to Busan. And man, that movie is well made, top to bottom. I had no complaints. They got the ending right. The action was good. The human drama that they sneak into zombie movies was enthralling and entertaining. I can't recommend that movie enough.
I agree. I second that recommendation. It's a good one.
My third.
Yeah.
Korean cinema is going to take over.
Should. By all
and
accounts,
TV shows.
All right. Well, what have I been watching? Well,
yes. What have you been watching, bud?
I'm going to recommend a newer movie. I went to the theater to watch the new A24 horror movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Do they hit the floor?
They did not. That song was not, unfortunately, in the movie. But it is basically like a whodunit horror mystery thriller, but a bunch of kind of rich kids who hanging out in this house, and the next morning, one of them, that night, one of them is discovered, dead, and they start blaming each other, and we got to figure out who's doing what. I will say that it is a movie that surprised me very much so, especially where it ends up heading. I did not see it coming at all. It's got a pretty good cast. Pete Davidson shows up for a spell. There is a bunch of talented female actresses. Actually, Maria Bakalova from the second Borat movie is one of the leads, and she's a lot of fun.
Could you imagine if they put Drowning Pool's bodies in an A24 movie?
No, I can't. I cannot.
Maybe a Blumhouse one, but not an A24 one.
Well, the thing about this one too, though, is it's not super intense like some of those it's not like Midsommar or Hereditary. Like it's more of like a kind of like a fun horror movie. Okay. But it's really clever. It's really good, and I think y'all should watch it. So there you go. That's what we're watching. Other than Lady in the Water, all three of those picks are probably better than Lady in the Water. Lindsay, thank you for coming on the show to talk about another Shyamalan masterpiece.
No problem.
Is there anything you want to just plug or talk about or just put out there in the world?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Jai.
No problem.
Perfect. Well, thank you anyway. Thank you for coming by. Nathan, is Montrose Monkington there for a spell?
He is. Just 1 second. I'll get him. Hello! It's your good friend Montrose Monkington III here, and I would just like to take a moment to invite all of you folks listening to my YouTube channel, Montrose Monkington TV, where you can watch me talk about the graps and whatnot. You can also be friends with me on Facebook at the Facebook group Montrose Monkington III Esquire and Friends. And finally, if you do so wish to, you could tweet at me on your little Twitter devices at Montrose III. That's the number 3 RD. Thank you. More later. Yeah.
Thank you, Montrose.
You're welcome.
Lindsay, do you have any questions for Montrose?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm scared.
Yeah, you should be. He's very scary.
He's not made out of wood. And killing his parents and then snorks or snarks.
Yeah, you got it.
Or that new Winnie the Pooh
Scrunchies?
movie.
Ooh.
The new Winnie the Oh, yeah, the horror movie.
can't
What is
wait.
that?
I can't wait to
Can't
see
wait.
that.
Uh,
Can't wait to probably talk about it on the show.
I was gonna say, yeah, it could be a fucking disaster. So anyways, that's it. So thank you for listening. You can find us everywhere on the webs. We are on all the podcast apps, but of course our home base is Age of Radio.
Big time.
You go to ageofradio.org/whatweretheythinking. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for us. We're on Twitter and Instagram at WWTT Podcast. We're on Redbubble, TeePublic, Patreon.com/WWTT Podcast. All that good stuff. But as we come to the end, I want to reiterate again, thanks to Lindsay for braving through another M. Night Shyamalan disaster.
No problem. It was painful.
But Nathan, I love how you've just been stuck in this role of M. Night Shyamalan guest. But Nathan, do you have any questions about Lady in the Water?
I got a couple questions. Okay, so in a movie where Paul Giamatti rescues what I thought was Tilda Swinton, but turned out to be Bryce Dallas Howard from a swimming pool.
Could have been Jessica Chastain. We're not sure yet.
Maybe, because she's a narf.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry. In a movie where M. Night Shyamalan kind of casts himself in a Jesus-type role, because not only is he martyred, but he'll bring about peace to the world, apparently.
Yeah.
And in a movie
Did he just fall asleep? What was he thinking?